Call the meeting to order at 10:07. We've got minutes of the last meeting, and we've also got minutes of the site visit. The site visit doesn't have any conclusions or votes or anything like that in it. It was just that. So, is there a motion about minutes?
I don't think I have any questions on it, so I move to pass to approve the minutes.
Okay, both sets?
Yes, both sets.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Anything to be said? Hearing none, the minutes are accepted. All those in favor, excuse me. Barry, aye.
June, aye.
Elaine, aye.
Thank you. Okay. Number one, the notice to proceed has gone to Tim Walheater on the weatherization contract. So we'll hear more about that as things start to progress. We've made a lot of progress on the moving, but we still have more to do. We need one more visit of highway to move the heavy file cabinets, and that really is something they need to do with the loader like they did the other file cabinets. And the art shelves. And then we've got more stuff in the room, most of which will go to the fire station. It's bigger stuff. It's things that don't require a careful environment. It's things that are big and really take up a lot of space that we don't have available. So we've really got the new building quite full, and we continue to take items up there, but it's really quite full. And when we, believe me, it's going to seem full once those other two things are in there. The file cabinets and the other, and both of those go right near the door, so that's you're going to open the door and things right there. So that's about there. We've made some progress moving things around and organizing things. There's always when we move like that. There's more to do, but we've been progressing pretty well. June, is there anything else you want to say about that move?
Can we put together are there still doors in the Bullard house? For some reason.
Oh yeah.
Could those also go to the fire station when the display cabinets go from room 113? Could that be combined?
I'm gonna say maybe not because they couldn't, but because I think you're going to take enough time doing a couple of the other things so that I wouldn't try to do that at the same time. We're going to need a second help from them and also a second help from others. We got one set of steel shelves that I think will go to the fire station, and of course we've got things like the bobsleds and some large tools or workbench things, the shoe bench. We just can't get that in the new building.
What about the things in the attic of the?
Oh yeah, and those also need to go. Almost all of that will go to the fire station. There's a couple of things that we may take to the other place, but almost all of that will go to the fire station. So there's definitely more stuff to move in that regard, and we can perhaps get we had another moving group came, and we might get them for another time too, because they could move a lot of that. I mean, in fact, any of our members, we can get any of our people to help with that.
Yeah, on May 1st, Scott Hawkins and Ross and Bob Blair with his open truck moved shelving and books and the other glass bookcase.
Yeah.
Plus and Scott was nice enough to take away some obsolete electronics because his workplace can dispose of them.
Yep, that's correct.
That was May 1st, and then
I got Bob beguiled in the cemetery trailer, and we moved the 5 wheelbarrows with the irons in them. We got the irons moved.
And the irons are on their shelves.
Back in their place, yep.
And I was there yesterday to drop off the things I had worked on, the sleeving the photographs that I took the last time, and all the wheelbarrows, our wheelbarrows were gone, and Edie's wheelbarrows are gone, so it looks not quite so.
Not quite so full.
Not quite so full, yeah.
But we have more to put in, so that will soon cure that problem. But highway and the file cabinets, that's the only way to do that. They were wonderful with that, and they can use the big loader to heft those big things. It's wonderful.
When do you think we could ask highway, or we just put out a request and they will get back to us?
Yeah. Yeah, we need to put that request out soon. We've got to unload the art shelves and reorganize those, which June and I have talked about. And that is something that once we've unloaded them, they can be moved, and so can those file cabinets anytime, as soon as those are unloaded. They have to be taken apart to move.
The highway, excuse me, through the chair, the highway department could do a lot in one visit, maybe possibly even do more than just the file cabinets. So if you want to line them up to move the doors, things in the attic, and you know, and other things, I think it's probably more efficient for them to do it all in one trip. If you have, you know, a bunch of things that you need the highway crew for. So just think, it's something to think about.
I need to talk to Dave about what will work for them. I mean, it might be much easier for them to take an hour one day and an hour another day and an hour another day and then be able to do their regular work than it is to take like a whole morning to do this stuff. But we'll see what he thinks about that.
I have to go to New Hampshire Tuesday. And next Tuesday, right? Yeah. And I'll be gone for about a week.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to help move, you know, these things along, but I won't. It would have to be after that or before.
Okay.
If you know, if you need me.
Well, I think I really would like to have you there when we.
I'd like to do the art shelves with you. Yes.
Yeah, because I want another person there helping me think through that one. We've got to take all the stuff off there and check them all out and decide which things will go in which places and what might go someplace else. There are some framed items on those shelves now that don't have to be on those. But we need to figure that all out. Right now, there's a little bit too much stuff on them, and there's a couple of changes to make on them. And if we unlimber them, then I can work on taking them apart and having them ready for highway. Okay, that's about where we are with that.
Do we know if highway took the toilets yet?
I have not been in the bullet house to look lately.
Okay.
I'll go look and see.
If they haven't, we could move the cabinet that we don't want to keep. We could move that outside if that's okay. Then they can take that away at the same time as they take away the toilets.
Oh, the old chest of drawers.
Yeah, it's not really a cabinet. It's I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's an old chest of drawers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that, and that could go too. Yeah.
Is it all right to, if I get a chance, is it all right to put it outside?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. There are, yes, there's many more things to move, and I'm a little bit concerned about the idea that we've got things to move in 3 or 4 places, and I think that it might be better to do it in somewhat different groups, just so that we keep control of it all well. It doesn't get too confusing. And I would like to involve a few more people, and we can if we handle it right. That was very good when we had Scott and Ross and Bob Blair. That worked fine. And they were with us, I don't know, an hour and a half.
Yeah, it was about an hour and a half.
And we got things, the things moved that we needed moved right then. And then we had to wait till we could get a trailer that we could put those wheelbarrows on, but that worked slick as a whistle as it did the last time. Okay. Most of the other things we would talk about were at the same point that we were before, because we've been pushing to get things done with this, get this move taken care of, get out of room 113. We had one building permit which we put through, and I would like to record a vote. Oh gosh, a vote that the kitchen renovation project on Pleasant Street.
96.
96, I think that's right. Is not historically significant.
So moved.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion seconded. I had examined that and looked at it, and I don't think there's going to be much change to the outside of the house, especially on the front toward the street. And most of it's an interior job, as a previous one we had was. The house is over 50 years old, but it's not a very significant house otherwise. Anyway.
How do you want the motion to read?
that the renovation, the kitchen renovation project at X Pleasant Street is not historically significant.
And that's it? Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Agar, aye.
June, aye.
Elaine, aye.
Thank you. We had already informally taken care of that. Is there other business that you want to take up now?
Well, you have the West School use listed. Have you, what's happened with that?
Well, I'm not convinced it's worth using it at this point. If we can only put a pretty limited amount of stuff there, and it's farther away and it's not heated either, I don't know, we might as well put it all at the fire station and be in one place. I think that, I mean, there's been some concern expressed about having stuff all over town, and I understand that it's a problem for us too, but at one point I was really interested in the West School because if I could really put a lot of stuff there, maybe maybe we'd have a better chance to keep using that. But I don't think that it's, if we're only putting a few things there, I just don't see it as worth it. We might as well just concentrate ourselves at the old fire station. The big thing, the only thing that's really concerning me about the old fire station is the leaky roof. That we have an area we're putting stuff that's not under the leaks, but if it isn't fixed it's going to be deteriorating fast. So there needs to be at least a patch job done on that roof. I know that the town, or at least some people in the town, are not interested in retaining some of our previous buildings. And I understand why they think that, but I also know that if there's utility for a town department to use them, even though it wasn't anything close to what the original use of the building was. I mean, that building, this last winter, there were, I mean, there's been snow equipment in there. There's some of the landscape trailers and speed limit trailers and things like that in the deep depth of the winter were kept in there. There were a series of, and then of course there's the old not fire truck that's been in there too. So it's not like it's just us. There are departments that are finding that useful for them. So I would hope that we can decide that the town can decide that that's useful to some of us and useful for the town as a whole going forward. We're going to have a lot of stuff there. And while I am painfully aware that some of that stuff may be sort of on the way out and it will be culling that collection a bit, there are some of those things that are very much things we want to keep. And we just don't have the space for them, at least until we can start to have more of them in the bullet house at a later time. And we still have a lot more, we have more stuff in the bullet house we're trying to move up too. So, a lot of that's probably going to have to go there.
I was trying to think of a way to keep the painted furniture that's in the Bullard house, trying to think about protecting it appropriately so that it could stay during renovations.
The good painted furniture is up in in the new building. And I mean, I'm talking about, you know, early 19th century painted furniture.
The furniture in the parlor, I guess that's what I'm thinking about.
Oh, okay, yeah.
How do we protect that? And is it possible to protect that and keep it in the Bullard house? Because where else are we ever going to put it?
Well, that's largely the Empire furniture and a few other pieces that are in the front room there. And those are, I mean, they can be moved to another part of the house. They have been before, but they really, it's nicely finished veneer Empire furniture, most of it, and that should not go to an unheated place.
So would we, if we think about the renovation, the sill work that will hopefully happen after the weatherization, would it be inappropriate for it to live in the parlor if it were protected better?
Well, the sill work is right outside that parlor wall. I don't know, and I would consult with Tim on that, but if he's going to be doing that work, we could move that stuff to another room so that room was empty or close to it. Being as how they're going to be working on that outside wall, and working with the sill and all, I don't know how that's going to affect the sill is one of the main timbers that supports that whole floor. So that would we might want to pretty much empty that room for that time, but that we would need to put it somewhere else. And
would we have to put it upstairs?
To go out in the kitchen.
When they did the work here, we didn't empty the rooms. We did take everything off the outside walls.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, anything that would, you know, rattle or break.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I think that's the kind of thing that we would need to do. And we've got, well, we had stuff stored in there that wasn't really part of the furniture for that room, but.
Yeah, maybe we could take some of the extra stuff out.
Take some of the extra stuff out and move those things over toward the fireplace wall and so forth. That would make sense to me.
Okay.
Elaine, did you want to talk at this meeting about that sill work? And
I wasn't ready to.
Well, that's all right. No, that's all right.
Yeah.
I know that we want to keep moving, and we've got the one job that we've got set up to be done, but we want to be getting this one ready too, so that could happen sooner.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that we've still got enough money in the current money to do that still job.
Well, I think we will. I don't know. It depends on what it comes in at.
Right.
And who knows today? But
yeah.
But most of these guys work with specialized lumber mills, you know, and they're not in the mainstream. So, you know, maybe it'll work.
This is very much the kind of a job you want Tim or somebody like him to do.
Exactly. And there are a good number of registered, you know, people with the state who do that. So.
Contractors. I mean, Bud Haworth on Sawyer Hill Road does that kind of work and has right along. Post and beam framing and that kind of stuff. So that's another one we know of.
Yeah.
So this work, the value of the cost of this work will exceed 10 grand. So we have to have, have to do the bidding.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we fully
have it quoted.
Yeah. We're still kind of playing catch up here because we've been so busy, and I do want to work on that, but I probably won't get to that till towards the end of June.
Yeah.
So maybe let me see. When's our next meeting? June 14th, a month away. We could start some work on it maybe. But definitely by July, to try to have it out there.
We agreed at the last meeting that we would talk to Tim when he was there, when he was on site with the weatherization. But because he would inform how you write the request for the proposal. Is that right?
Well, he could give us more specifics, and that's why I figured we'd wait until we talked with him. And like I say, it coincides with our being really busy. So
sure.
But it'll slow down soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's predictable.
Yes, it is, and boy, this is the time, and with things opening up from COVID, people are going to be doing all kinds of work in their places. So.
Well, they've been on waiting lists, a lot of them.
If I could just add on the procurement side, this is a building construction project, so it is going to be a little more in depth than the small projects you've already gone out for quote on. So, but it's good to know that you plan on proceeding, so I can try to get ready. We will need to do advertisements on the state sites and like that. So, and I'm happy to help if you need me. You know where to find me. So, okay.
Well, the thing we've got to do first is to put together the description of a detailed description of the work.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll be working on, and what we'll be consulting with Tim on.
Yep, that's good. That's a perfect place to start. Yes. And
then when we have that, when we think we have that in shape, we move on to those things that you were speaking of. I don't know. I don't really have much else to, I mean, we've got lots of work on our plate as usual, and we've still got to finish our move, but I think that, I don't know what other business we've got today. We've touched on the things that I've been concerned about. There are other things that we know are lying, but we have to get these done before we can move on.
Yeah, if you need a truck, you know, on a Monday or a Tuesday, if I have enough advance notice, that's not a problem.
Okay.
We're pretty much tied up the rest of the time.
Right. You know, that might be, if we can get a couple of good volunteers to help us, that might be how we'll deal with the stuff that's in the attic.
Right.
A couple of trips with your truck would work for that.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and with the elevator, that makes it a lot easier. We can just take them down out the door and into the truck.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, so keep that in mind, and but I do need enough notice.
Definitely. Yeah.
I've got a couple of things going on with my eyes that I gotta take care of.
Yeah. My priority is to get 113 closed out, because then the town can do other things with that. The stuff that's in the attic, if it were done, you know, even in a few months, wouldn't be any great problem, because nobody else is trying to use that space.
Yeah.
But I don't want to put it off. I'd rather get our stuff out of that building entirely if we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you're putting all the display cabinets and such up there in the, you know, the glass cabinets. You're putting those in the firehouse? Yes.
The ones that are in the 113 now require repair. Mm-hmm. And one of them requires a significant repair, but the other one needs a whole reconditioning. So those definitely will go to the fire station.
Yeah. Did you want to look into having them? Did you want to look into having them repaired? And maybe the Historical Society could take care of that. I mean, while we're in transition, because we can always use them in the town hall and Memorial Hall.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. And the one that's in the better condition, it's one of the glass sides that's out at the moment. It needs to be reglazed in its place, but it has to be done on the inside of the case. So it's it's kind of a difficult job, but if we had the right person, we might be able to do it. Yeah. I wonder whether I could talk to Steve Huntley and see whether he'd consider that job. He's the one that did all the windows in the town hall and all the windows at 19 Carter. And so he's used to doing glazing and that stuff, but this is a kind of an interesting job, and I don't know, if he was intrigued with it, he might do it.
Yeah. He actually didn't do the windows at 19 Carter, but he did assist. The windows were had the oversight of a well, I don't know what his title is, but he's a restorer. Okay. I can't even remember his name. I only remember his first name and what he looks like. Okay. But I think Steve was part of a team of helpers.
Yes, he was, and he got so he was doing some himself, I think, by the time it started. Yeah, I hadn't thought of asking Steve on that case, and maybe I'll give him a call and have him come down and look at it, because that case is not too big. It's just the size of those small old tables in Memorial Hall. So you plunk it on there and you've got a nice little exhibit thing that you can move around anywhere and so forth. And the case is small enough so that I can actually pick it up and carry it alone. And as I did a lot for some years, but since the glazing came off on that one side, we've had it in storage. So I'd love to get that back in service for sure. And it isn't an impossible job to get that to happen.
Yeah. Well, this would be the best time to do it, I think.
Yes, it would. It would be a great time to have it happen, especially if it's happening someplace else.
Yes.
It could be done in the bullet house. Somebody could do the work in the bullet house in a place that's not being otherwise occupied.
It's pretty full in there.
Well, I know, but you know, that's something you could do in the the entrance room or something if somebody wanted to do it on site somewhere.
Yeah.
That would do it. Yes, June.
I think doesn't the Community Preservation Committee need some sort of narrative from us as to our historic assets?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, it has been suggested that we need to do a list of, particularly to start with, town buildings and town things that are in the town's ownership that we think would qualify as historic preservation projects under CPA. And that we should have a list of the, you know, just even of the buildings themselves, so that that's on the radar screen for CPA committee. And it give you, Elaine, something to take there and to have available.
It's always nice to have something specific.
Yes, yeah, and we, there are a few other things that I could bring up. I mean, the job that's happening at the store right now, which is really maintenance, so it wouldn't work. But if they had to do some significant restoration of exterior or something on a building like the store, that's an eligible project. It's privately owned, but it's a very important landmark in the town that would be, I mean, I can tell you right now that there are oodles of people in the town that would put that right on the top as an important historic thing in the town of Berlin. And because it's been the center of commercial activity all of its life since 1812. So I think that those kinds of projects, I mean, buildings like that, we might put on a list that things that could be eligible if they had the right kind of a project being done or in need of being done. So that's definitely the case. And I would suggest that that's a thing for us to spend a bit of time on at a future meeting, is the kinds of projects that would be eligible under CPA. And I really have a learning curve myself in terms of what might be eligible and what might not be, because
well, it's interesting. If you go to their site,
yeah,
you know, the state site,
yeah,
you can look at all the projects that these towns have funded,
yeah,
and it's surprising the variety.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And there's certainly plenty of things in Berlin that could be eligible, and there's a good chunk of money there. If you looked at the numbers that were in the articles, just the numbers that are there's money put aside for right now. That doesn't mean it has to be spent in the first year, but I'll tell you one thing: there's a big knot of that money that's not yet obligated, not yet put into one of those categories, and somebody's going to use that money. And if it's something that we're concerned about, we should be having things up so that they're in competition for it.
Any news on that Hastings portrait?
No, I have not heard. I have not heard from her again. I will have to contact her because it's been, no, she was going to be gone a month. Probably it's about time for us to be hearing from her. I'll take a look at the last message I had, and if it's getting close to the time, I'll give her a little reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great item, and
yeah,
I know that's a child's portrait. That's going to be a very popular thing to have.
I think if you do speak to her and she could give us dimensions, then we could, if we need to put it in a box that's appropriate.
Oh, yeah.
We don't.
I think I've got dimensions from her already. I'll go back and review the emails. I think I've got dimensions, and it's not too large.
No.
It's not awfully large. I don't think it's any larger than, like the Gott portrait. It may even be smaller than that.
Should there be an appraisal with that? If you know, if she wants to take the deduction of the donation, or
oh, that's another question. Yes, we haven't talked about that, but she should probably consider that. It would be, I would think, I have no idea what it's worth, but I would think it would be worth it to her to get an appraisal. And if she did that, then we'd have that to help us with an insurance thing. We should have those 3 or 4 paintings appraised, and that we have, and we should perhaps a few other items. I don't think there's very much in the collection that's worth an appraisal, but a couple of those items definitely are. The one thing that seems to really hold value and continue to grow is oil paintings. I'm fascinated with that on Antiques Roadshow, how that one, they don't very often go down.
It depends on the category.
Okay, yeah. I heard Antiques Roadshow, one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh.
When my youngest son, who's now almost 30, I'm sorry, this is a little diversion. When he was about, you know, say between 6 and 8 years old, I would be folding laundry on a Sunday night, and he and I would watch Antiques Roadshow, and we'd kind of place wagers on how much the stuff was worth.
Oh, yeah.
I just love that show. Anyway, okay. Sorry to interrupt.
The interesting thing about it now, if you watch them, they don't have as much really old stuff as they used to. Almost all the stuff they're concentrating on is 20th century stuff, early 20th century stuff.
It is.
And I have been told that the Skinner auction house is getting to the point where that's all they really want to look at, because that's where an awful lot of value is in those things that have risen to the top in popularity from the 20th century. And that is a really fascinating development. The enthusiasm for 19th century and 18th century stuff is not the same in today's market.
Really fallen off a cliff.
Yeah, yeah. And especially furniture compared to the values it used to have, the old furniture, and really what I call really antique furniture. Fascinating what's happening.
Okay, sorry. I'm gonna go in the background again, but when I heard Antiques Roadshow, I just had to join. Okay.
Well, the thing that Antiques Roadshow does is it gives you a concept of what's happening in the market. Well, and I find that I find that part of it I find quite fascinating.
Yeah, and do you know Steve Fletcher very well?
Yeah, I know Steve quite well.
Yeah, yeah. Because we have a lot of those people available to us, and
oh yeah,
maybe they do us a kindness in their busy schedules if we were organized enough for them to look at a few things.
If we had, I bet we could get Steve to come look at some stuff for us when he comes up to Marlborough for something. I mean, he lives down in Dartmouth now, but Steve, no, I knew Steve quite well, and of course. He knew Grace Dammers. He knew, I mean, Louise Woodhead and Mim and so forth were all people that, heck, he came to a couple of those funerals that we had here in Berlin for those folks that worked at Skinner's. And so we've known Steve for a long time, and he's, at the same time, I know that he's in the office a lot less than he used to be nowadays, because he's not so young as he used to be either.
Yeah, I'm listening.
But when we had, I mean, that's the whole thing. We had the people that could do that for us in our own stable for quite a while.
Right.
But yeah, Stevie, if we had a few things that we wanted to get appraised like that, I bet we could get Stevie to come do it. At least we could try.
Yep. Okay. I don't have anything else at the moment.
June?
No, I wish I had more time to work on protecting what we have. Even in the curatorial room, there are things that we've already looked at and know that we have to rebox, and But anyway, after the beginning of June, I will have more time.
Yeah, maybe
June, you have devoted a remarkable amount of time to this stuff in the past couple of years. And you don't have to apologize at all for not having time at any given moment. And I know that you'll be back doing more later on. And the whole business of proper containment of objects is an ongoing thing. We've made tremendous strides in the 3 years that we've been in the town offices, tremendous strides. And a lot of it has been in the clothing areas where Edith has packed stuff and so forth. But we've gotten things out of old boxes into new ones, and we've combined things together and so forth. It's much more efficient than it was before. And at the same time, we've also acquired a lot. And that's the place that we have to be careful of now is this amount of stuff we acquire and make sure that it really adds to our collection. We have a lot of editing to do. I'm thinking particularly of ladies' hats from the 1950s and 60s, which we've gotten piles of from different people. And we want to make sure we represent those people in what we say. But in some cases, we need to, I mean, how many little lacy things that you stick in the middle of the top of your head do you need? But you need some different colors and you need some different types. And but I think that we probably are going to move some of those things through. At the same time, they don't take up much space. And you can plunk several of them in the same box. So that's another thing. They don't take, they aren't as bad that way. But there's a lot of things that we need to edit a bit too. June?
One thing that I don't think we've talked to Elaine about, and that is one of the things that I found that needed help was a military document. And I was allowed to submit one item for to the NEHGS for review. And so I had Marty shoot that document and do a couple of close-ups and send it off with my description. Todd Pattison, who was responsible for, responding, replied that he thought, well, first of all, it needs UV scans in order to be able to read the writing with any certainty.
The ink is very much faded.
Yeah, and it was his superficial judgment that that document came from the early 19th century. And I was very surprised. I thought it would be either later in the 19th century or early 20th century. So it may be that our scans were the best we could do, and they, and the determination he made was too early, but it would be, I don't know how much UV scans cost, but I'd like us to think about financing that. Maybe what I'll do is just find out how much it costs, if it's all right with you to, we've gone this far with the document and it's pretty unique.
I think a couple of words that have been identified are prison. And prisoner. Yeah. And so we think it may be a list of such people, and we don't know exactly when or where yet. Yeah, it's certainly an interesting item. I believe it came from Florence Ann's house, from the Ross, Wheeler Ross family over on Summer Road. And it certainly is intriguing. The other thing I will say is it's probably a good thing to ask the Historical Society.
Okay.
Yeah, that was going to be my suggestion.
Yeah, yeah. And they've got some general funds that could be available for this. No, that's a good, I'm glad you brought that up so that Elaine would know about it.
Because I realized the other day that Elaine hadn't seen, well, no. I'm pretty sure she hasn't seen it. And no. And that was one of the benefits from
Elaine?
From what? No, I was just going to say, is this the stuff that you were taking out of the that upstairs room?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And this thing has been framed and apparently hung on the wall someplace. Some significant part of its life, which is why it's so faded. But obviously somebody thought it was awfully interesting if they had it framed enough. It's really, really difficult to read. I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but so much of it's faded out. But the idea of the ultraviolet scan, if that would bring enough of it forward to make it readable, would be wonderful. Yeah, I don't know anything about having that done. I imagine we could get it done at the Document Conservation Center in Andover.
Well, he, in his reply, he does, and in all my handouts, there are at least 3 places where we can ask for the cost. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I think that's worth going ahead and doing. And as I say, I throw it to the Historical Society to consider funding. Is there anything else before we adjourn? If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second that.
That says 3 of us are in favor. Agar, aye.
June, aye.
Elaine, aye.
Thank you.